Okay, so to continue to the third assignment in the chapter, we're doing a front elevation of a hutch. I'm not going to do all the assignments. I'm just going to prep you for some things that aren't included in the book to make sure you're clear as to how to create those objects. So again, the idea is to return here to model space and work somewhere where you don't have other drawings. So over here to the right of the screen, over here in this area, I'm going to draw the elevation of the hutch. So I am going to draw a rectangle here, REC, and it's going to be D for dimensions, 3'10" wide. Enter. It's going to be 6 feet tall. 6 feet tall. So there's the cabinet. I'm going to click here, land on the screen. I'll move it over here. And then immediately I will explode it because I want to copy the lines on this object over in order to create the thicknesses that I need to for the cabinet parts and pieces. So I'm going to explode it. X is for explode. The command is right there, but I typically type X, enter, click on the object, enter, and then these things are now individual objects. I'm going to copy this up with ortho turned on, 2'6", so let's say 30 inches. So we're fine there. And then what I'll do is I will focus on the bottom first and then head to the top. So this is the bottom here. So looking ahead into a set of drawings, they've got a detail that shows the bottom of the cabinet in a much bigger detail. And so here I'm going to use that drawing. I'm going to offset, O for offset, from the bottom, what looks to be about 2 inches here. And I'm going to offset these legs, offset 5 inches for the leg here. Actually, that's where the door is. I'm going to zoom into that there. And the leg is really an offset or copy command. I'm going to use an offset 3.5. So this is where the leg is here. And then there's an arc, an 1.5 inch arc sprung from this area here. If I do DIST, distance, I can measure this from here to here, and it tells me it's 1.5 inches. Okay, so that's fine. I can draw a circle from this intersection here over to here, and I can move that circle. So let's do this here. Move this circle from this corner, because I have the quadrant snap turned on, down to here. And there's the design that we want for the leg. I'm going to trim everything I don't need, TR for trim, and start erasing pieces that I don't desire. So these type of things here aren't very useful to me. I'm going to erase this one here. Actually, I need to keep that one because this is a trim. Trim is, not a trim, actually a fillet. I want to keep this and keep this. Trim erases things. This is a trim. And there's the beginnings of the leg. It looks to me that up here, this piece here is offset by 2 inches. I'm going to copy that down. I'm going to trim this out here, TR for trim, erase this piece here. And then there's a couple latches that are located here. From the center of the cabinet, draw a line from the center of the cabinet. There is a piece here that's 3 inches thick. So I'm going to offset it 1.5 to either side. And then I erase this and trim this and erase these here. There's some type of horizontal latch that goes across here. So I'm going to draw a line from the midpoint of here to the midpoint of there. And they haven't given me any dimensions on that yet, but it looks to be, actually it's a foot down. I'm going to erase that. I'm going to copy this. They're saying from the top of here down 1 foot, 12 inches, there's a latch right there. I'm going to trim out these areas and erase this. So there's some type of horizontal latch mechanism here, 1 foot down from the top. As far as the latch is concerned, they actually drawn it in another place in the set of drawings, and they measure here. They state that this thing is 3/4 inch thick, so let's go 3/8 of an inch above and below the center line. It's 5 inches tall. It's 5 inches long, so that means I need to offset this another inch because it needs to be 1 inch longer, and I'm going to fillet these edges here. And there's the latch here. And there is a line here in the center that is offset 2 inches. So I'm going to go 1 inch over, 1 inch to the right. Erase this, erase this, and then trim this and this. These 2 lines here I don't need. These 2 lines here I don't need. Then there's a screw right in the center of that object there. From what I can gather, the screw goes there. So we built a screw earlier, this screw here. Now, this is what I want to do here. I want to use the concept of blocks, because if I move this screw, I could potentially leave these lines here behind by accident. I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to type block, and I'm going to make a block called screw. And I'm going to base point, pick point. I'm going to pick the center of this object. And it's looking for it. I can't find it. So I'm going to type CEN, enter, and find the center of that object. Click right there. Then I'm going to select the objects here. This, and this, enter. And we'll convert it to a block. Hit OK. If I touch it, they're all connected together. Under the same token, this object here should be done the same way. Honestly, these screws should have been blocks, honestly. So if I change them in the future, these will all change together at the same time. But we haven't done that. And I can basically make that change here. I can just simply erase these, draw a line from here to here, and then copy this, CO for copy, that object from the center, CEN, enter, the center of that circle to the midpoint, and I find it there, click, and I can do the rest. Mirror this off to the center of there, mirror this and this, enter from the center of there, and then erase this. We've done this before. This is going to be another block, because I'm going to use multiple copies of this. I'm going to call this, let's see, they have a name for this object here. I'm going to call it latch. So I'm going to make a block. And here I'm going to call it latch. And then I'm going to close that block, latch. And here it says pick point. I'm going to pick, for the time being, the bottom left-hand corner. And then for a select object, I'm going to pick the entire object. And then accept all the other choices, convert to block, hit OK. And then I'm going to redefine the latch. I didn't think I built the latch earlier, but I'm going to redefine it. And so that's going to be a latch right there. And so with that being said, I can take this block here and place it in the center of this latch here. That screw is going to be placed here. So I can copy it if I like, or I can type I for insert, and then here are my blocks, grab screw, and then use the midpoint of this line here to place it. I can close that. I is for insert. I erase this. So there's the latch and the screw there. Furthermore, on this drawing, they placed latches above and below on this panel here, and it looks like they're using 4 inches. So I'm going to offset this line here by 4 inches, and about right here should be the center of the latch. So I'm going to type I for insert, find the latch, then drag it onto the screen here. And from what they're telling me, from what I can see here, they have 3 screws here, whereas we only have 4. Let me confirm that they actually drew it this way correctly at the beginning of the chapter, or at the beginning of the assignments. Yeah, there is a 3rd screw here. So here's a situation. We've got a block that needs to be updated. Let's use the existing block for the time being. I'm going to place it and then fix it after the fact, which is what is so useful about blocks. I'm going to move this object from its midpoint to that intersection right there, because it's 4 inches down, and it's centered on the vertical line here. So I'm going to move it, this object, from the center of that, which would be the midpoint right there, over here perpendicular to the vertical line here. And that's perfectly centered. I don't need this line anymore because I've already located it where it belongs there. I'm going to mirror this to the bottom and put it in the exact same position relative to the top. Put it down here at the bottom in the exact same position using a mirror. MI for mirror. Click this object, enter. Choose the middle of that line and draw a line to the left. Make sure ortho is turned on. Click, and it places it perfectly in position. Here, I can then basically erase this line when it goes through the block there. TR for trim, enter. And then here, these lines disappear because they don't belong inside that latch. TR for trim, erase those. We're good. Trim. Before we do this trim, we're going to copy this leg to the other side. So before we do that work, what I want to do now is fix this block here for a second. So if I double click on the block, I launch the block editor. It lets me choose what block to change. I want to change the latch block, which is this block here. You're in a different environment. You see the menu here changed. And the only purpose of getting into this environment here is to fix the block and then quickly exit. And so I need to draw a line from the middle of this and then copy this and this from their center. Again, if you can't find the center, you type CEN, enter. There, it finds the center and nothing but the center. Make it perpendicular to that line. Escape, erase this guideline here. And what we're effectively doing is we're updating the block with this new redesign. The crosshairs here show you where the insertion point was used. So I'm use that bottom left-hand corner. That should never change. These are the screws, updates for this design. Close the block editor, and yes, save changes. This one changes, but so does this one, because they're the same block, which is why blocks are so useful. Let me erase that menu. So now I can copy this entire leg to the opposite side of this hutch. I'm going to mirror this. These parts here, enter, from the middle of this straight up, and there's copy to the other side. TR for trim, and erase any parts that don't belong. So there, we've got the bottom of that hutch drafted basically. So let's proceed with the top part of the hutch here. So here they're saying that the topmost portion here is offset or copied. Let's do copy this time. CO is copy. Copy this straight down 2 3/4, 2.75. And so these panels on the side here are 3/8 of an inch. I'm sorry, 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to offset 3/4 of an inch over here to the right, and then erase any parts I don't need. I'm going to trim this and trim this off here and erase this piece here. There's the side panel. I'm going to mirror that panel to the opposite side. Do I want to mirror it yet? Let's not mirror it yet because I don't want to do the same work twice. This is one of the rules in AutoCAD. You never want to draw the same thing twice. So let's focus on this piece here at the top. This piece here has multiple parts to it. So the topmost part is 11/16. The next piece here is an 1/8 inch groove. Okay. The next part is 1.5 inches, so offset 1.5. This comes down 1.5 to here. Then there's a curvy piece here. And this should be, if I do a distance from here to here, it should be, this says 2 1/4. They'd like us to put a 3/4 inch radius. So part of it's going to be, looks like it's going to be a full inch. So let's check some measurements here. Distance between this and this is 2 1/4, 2 3/4. Oh, I'm sorry, that is 2 3/4. This is 3 3/4. This line needs to move up an inch. This is what I have wrong. Extend command allows you to touch this, extend that to there. And so this has a couple of parts here. There's a couple curves here. One curve they're saying is 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to draw a circle here. diameter D, and I'm sorry, the radius. Diameter would be 1.5 inches, 1.5. And I'll move this from that point to that point there. I'm going to take this and extend it over here. I'm going to draw a line from this up to there, because what's happening here between this point and this point, that last final corner there is going to be another curve. And that curve, they're saying it's going to be a 1/4 inch. Let's make sure, confirm that distance. DIST between this point and that point there. Is it a, they're saying it's a half. So this is going to be a 1/4. So I'm going to draw a circle from this intersection. And the radius is going to be a 1/4 inch. And I'm going to move it. I'm going to move this object from the quadrant down to here. And move it from this quadrant over to that straight line there. And then when you erase everything I don't need, TR for trim, erase this, erase that, erase that. There's the curve that they're describing. Erase this, because that is a 3/4 inch radius. And here they're saying this is a 1/4 inch radius. And this entire object here is 2 3/4 inches tall. Distance from here to here is 2 3/4 inches tall. So this is the design that they're after. Then I'll draw a line from here up. And then I will fillet these corners. I will EX for extend, extend these lines over. Trim some pieces we don't need, erase some pieces we also don't need. Trim off this edge here. That would be a fillet. And this is what they're saying here. This should be set back, obviously set back here 1/8 of an inch. And then TR for trim to trim off all the parts we don't need here. This little groove is at the face of that top piece of the cabinet there. So that's the design, because that is 3/4 inch and that is a 1/4 inch. So there must be a flat part in here to get to the measurements that they're describing in their detail. They also mentioned that this is a 3/4 inch panel at the top of the cabinet, and it should be continuous through here. So with that being said, we don't want to do that same work twice. There's quite a bit of work going into that. And so what we'll do is when we're done here, we'll copy this to the other side using the mirror command so as not to do the same work twice. So next is the matter of offsetting. I'll use offset command, and offsetting the first 11 inches here is the bottom of the shelf. The shelves are 3/4 inch thick. I'm going to copy command this time. Feel free to choose offset or copy. Makes no difference. 10 inches. I'm going to copy that up 3/4. And then here they're saying the next shelf here is 8.5. This is 8.5 or 8. Copy this. Sorry. Copy this 8.5. So 8-1/2. And then that shelf is another 3/4 inches thick. All the panels are 3/4 inches thick, by the way. And here what they have is what they call is a dado detail. It's when the shelf, this shelf here bites into this shelf here by a fraction of an inch, so that the groove that the shelf slides into. That's called a dado. They want to show that as a 1/4 inch offset. So I'm going to offset 1/4 inch into here, and then fillet this, and then TR for trim that. That's a dado detail. I can then copy that detail, CR for copy that detail from this edge here to the exact same location here, to the exact same location here. So that I can circle back now and type F for fillet and fillet these edges here and TR trim that edge there. Fillet this to here, fillet this to here, this to there, and then TR for trim and erase that. So with that being said, I've got all the parts I need. So if I want to copy this to the other side, what I have to do is use mirror, but I have to have a line that describes the full length. I can't use this line here because this edge here is longer than that edge over there. This shelf has been trimmed. This is a little bit shorter, so I can't use this line. This line here spans the entire distance, left to right. So that's an ideal line to use to launch the mirror command. MI for mirror, encircle all these areas here, enter. Here's the center of the mirror line, the midpoint snap there. Click, go straight up, click, and hit enter. And then here you simply have to use a fillet and fillet these edges so that the shelving gets trimmed along that dado line. And here are a bunch of extensions, or fillet. Fillet does the exact same thing. F for fillet between this and this. Extend EX. This will extend to the nearest edge it finds, but I have to do this twice because I found the first line there, and then I have to find the second line there, and that extends over. And that basically gives you the hutch. Let me confirm that it is accurate. There's a couple lines missing here and here at the bottom, horizontal lines that describe the curvature of the hutch from the side view, which I'm not going to draw. I'll leave that up to you. But this is an example of how to use blocks in AutoCAD and create these areas here that are most useful for completing this project. Let's move on.